Hello everyone and welcome back to Simply Psychological. Today we are going to discuss the cognitive development theory given by Jean Piaget. So let's get into it. As adults, the things we take for granted matters a lot to a baby, as these are learning matter for infants. For example, we know that arm is a part of our body while table is not. We know that plastic ball is lighter than the lead one. We know either hat is on the table or on the cupboard. It's a separate thing or an object. But baby, through encounters with objects and people, make the sense of their world. Jean Piaget in 1896 to 1980 made an intensive study of child's cognitive development and develops theory how child abilities to think and reason progresses as they mature. According to him, there are 4 stages of intellectual development. The first one is sensory motor stage, preoperational stage, operational stage, and formal operational stage. So let's talk about sensory motor stage. This stage starts from 0 and lasts till 2 years. In this stage, or during this stage, the infant is busy discovering relationships between actions and consequences of their actions. They learn how far they have to reach to grasp an object, or what will happen if they push their food tray or plate over the edge of the table. And their hand is a part of their body, while a rattle is not a part of their body. Through countless experiments, they develop a concept of themselves as separate from the external world. At this stage, they learn the concept of object permanence, that is, an awareness that an object continues to exist even when it is not present to the senses. If you cover a toy with a cloth in front of 8-month-old child, the child will immediately stop and will lose interest, and he would be having no expressions of being upset or stuff like that. But if the same thing happens with a 10-month-old, he will actively search for an object that has been hidden under a cloth or behind a screen. As that older baby seems to realize that the objects exist even though it is out of sight. But still, the search at this age is limited because the child always tries to check or reach or search for the object at that place where it was found in the previous trials, regardless of seeing the older person or the individual hiding that stuff or a toy to the other location. But when the child is 1 year old, got a clear concept of object permanence, and he tries to search the object in that location in which the individual has hid it, regardless of the previous trials and regardless of either he found out or not. He is always going to look there where the individual has hidden it. So this is the concept of object permanence, which is learned by the child in sensory motor stage. Second stage of cognitive development given by Jean Piaget, which is pre-operational stage. So by the age of 1.5 to 2 years, child began to use language like words and symbols used for representing things or group of things, and one object can represent or symbolize the other. For example, in a play, a 3-year-old may treat a stick as a horse or a wooden cube as a car, or if there are 2 dolls, she is going to consider one as a mother and the other as a baby. Although 3 and 4 years old can think in symbolic terms, but their words and images are not yet organized or are very logical. Like Piaget called this stage preoperational, which is from 2 to 7 years. Because a child does not comprehend certain rules or operations. Piaget gave the definition of operation as it's a mental routine for shifting information, and it is reversible, and every operation has its logical opposite. Like if we cut a circle into 4 equal pie shaped, and if we are going to put them together, it's going to make a whole circle again. Similarly, if we take the square of 3, it's going to be 9, and if we are going to take square root of 9, it's going to be 3, which shows that these concepts are weak in child in this stage. Their abstract thinking is weak. So they can't comprehend these sort of rules, reversible rules, and etc. Piaget illustrates this deficit by some experiments on the development of what he calls as conservation. Like as adult, we totally ignore or take this rule as for granted, which is a law of conservation. But for a child, this matters a lot. Like if you take 2 equal clay balls and you illustrate the child that they are equal, and then in front of the child you roll the one into a sausage shape while the other remains the same, and in front of the child has saw you that you haven't added or subtracted any clay from that sausage object. And when you are going to ask the child either which one has more clay, the child is going to say that the longer one contains more clay. So, until the age of 7, majority of the children reach this stage where they get to know, they perceive them as equal, and the clay will either it has a longer shape or it has a circular shape, doesn't matter to them anymore. Another experiment was done, which was conservation of weight, in which a child was given, one was a circular ball and the other was a sausage one, and was asked either which one is heavier. The same kind of study can be used to learn about the conservation of weight. Like for example, we put a ball and a sausage in a scale, and before that we ask the child either which one is going to be heavy. So conservation of weight is more difficult for a child to understand as compared to conservation of mass. So another reason the child younger than 7 have difficulty in understanding the concept of conservation of mass is that his thinking is still dominated by visual impressions. A change in appearance of clay mass means more to them than less obvious qualities such as weight. Another experiment was done in which the visual impressions were seen and checked, and in that experiment there was a row of black checkers matched one by one against the red checkers, and the 5 to 6 year old was asked either they are same or not, and he said they are same. And when the black checkers were brought closer and were given a form of cluster, and then the boy was asked either they are equal now or not, he said the row ones, the red checkers, are more as compared to the black one. Till the age of 7, when he gets to know and he assumed that no matter what shape they get into, they are same. Because in 7-year-old, the child assumes that if number of objects was equal before, they are going to remain equal, because at this age numerical equality is more significant than visual impressions. Is the operational stage of cognitive theory given by Jean Piaget. So between the ages of 7 to 12, this stage is called as concrete operational stage, in which the child masters various conservation concepts and begin to perform still other logical manipulation. Like they can order object on the basis of dimensions such as height, weight, etc. Like for example, if he wants to have a ball, he would be asking like it has no corners, or if he wants a triangle, he would be saying that it has 3 corners, and if he's asking for a rectangle, he would be like it's a bit long with 4 corners. So these are the thing. If you ask a 5-year-old child to take you to their friend's house, they will definitely going to take you to their friend's house. But if you ask them to draw a map for you, they won't be able to do that. But if you ask the same thing with to an 8-year-old child, he is readily going to make a map for you. So Jean Piaget called this stage as concrete operational stage, although the child is using abstract terms, but still he or she is doing so only in relation to concrete objects. Not until the final stage of cognitive development, the formal operational stage, which begins around 11 and 12 years, the youngsters are purely able to reason on symbolic terms. In one test for formal operational thinking, they can also form a mental representation of a series of actions. Like for example, if you notice a child who is in operational stage, he or she can make a series of actions. Like if you observe them while playing, they can actually do these series of actions. Like for example, okay, I will be cooking food and you will intervene in my home. You would be thief and you are going to kill me, and then you have to call 911, and you are the nurse, you are going to help me, and you are the policeman, you are going to arrest this thief. These are the series of actions which actually children in operational stage does. And definitely if you are a keen observer, you definitely would have observed these series of actions in the children play. So I have observed it, and so I can tell that. So if we talk about formal operational thinking, in one test, a subject tries to discover what determines the amount of time that a pendulum will swing back and forth, and it's a period of oscillation. It is called as period of oscillation, and the subject was presented with length of string suspended from hook and several weights and strings, and he can alter the way he want. And then the children still in the concrete operational stage will experiment changing some variables, but not in a systematic way. Adolescents, even in the average ability, will set up a series of hypotheses and proceed to test them systematically. The reason that if a particular variable weight affects the period of oscillation, the effect will appear only if they change one variable and hold all the other constant. So actually in the one who is in operational stage won't be able to do these things, like making hypotheses and doing experiments, while the one who is in formal operational stage, he or she is definitely going to make hypotheses and going to experiments one by one, as that child knows that if he or she is doing a different thing, or making the rope or the hook or the weight or their position, or are making a change in their position, it is going to affect the period of oscillation, and by that they are going to work on it, and they are for each hypothesis and confirming or denying the consequences. So working out the consequences, considering all the possibilities and working out the consequences for each hypothesis and confirming or denying these consequences is the essence of what Piaget calls formal operational thought. This ability to conceive of possibilities beyond which is present in reality, the think of alternative ways, permeates adolescent thinking and is tied with the tendency to be concerned with philosophical and ideological problems and the question the way in which adults run the world. So this is formal operational stage in which a child or a youngster adolescent is able to reason. What's the reason? What are the causes? And what could be done which can change that thing or which can bring change into that thing. So they are the ones who actually work on the consequences for each hypothesis and then confirming or denying the consequences. So now let's talk about the criticism which was on the Jean Piaget theory of cognitive development. The first one was that some critics believe that Piaget underestimated the abilities of preschool children, what he means from the child or what he wanted a child to do. Like, for example, he would have told the child either he is asking about more or asking which is long or short. Like in the weight one, in which he asked either which one has more clay. Similarly, even a 3 or 4 year old child shows some awareness of conservation, of number conservation, and they distinguish between the number of items in a set and the way these items are specially arranged. Similar studies suggest that the quality of child thinking does not change dramatically from one stage to the next. Rather than that, it is a transition between stages of intellectual growth, which is gradual, involving a consolidation of earlier skills and that they become automatic. Similarly, some other psychologists view cognitive development as a gradual increase in knowledge and in mastery of skills. Like, one important cognitive skill is remembering. The more you remember, the more you get to know about the things and the more you are able to sort things out. The main issue with the young ones is that they have limited amount of memory capacity, because of which they find difficulty in doing the task and improving their performance rather than the school age children. But with the passage of time, their memory capacity increases as they mature physically. They are able to improve it. Like, more likely that what changes with age is the ability to use various strategies to improve memory. Like, now some psychologists say that the younger ones aren't able to complete their task. The experiment was done by Yasin and Berman in 1981, in which children were given a list of 15 words and were asked to recall. In result, 6-year-old recalled 4 words, 9-year-old recalled 5 words, and 11-year-old recalled 7 words, which proves and shows that memory capacity increases as a child mature. So the preschool perform poorly on the test as compared to the school ones due to limited memory capacity.